Hi, I'm Miranda Ramos, and I'm the facilitator for the Fort Bragg Coalition for Gang Awareness and Prevention. And we had a wonderful workshop today conducted by Bob Flores, who's joining us in the studio here today to answer some questions about gang culture in our community. Hi, Bob.
Hello.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
We're really pleased with the wonderful workshop that you did today. We really appreciate you coming up from the Sonoma area and joining us. And during our workshop, we asked that some of our participants leave some questions so we could ask you here today. So our first question is from the law enforcement perspective. It comes from our Chief of Police, Scott Mayberry. He's wondering how law enforcement can improve the way that they deal with gangs in our community.
Well, I think one of the things that many communities are learning, including law enforcement, is that they need to work together, that gangs are a community-wide issue that demand a community-wide response, and law enforcement itself is a service provider. So to have them at the table with everyone else, I think really helps to show a united front against this issue.
Great. We're very fortunate here with the coalition that law enforcement is heavily involved, not just our police department, but the sheriff's department as well as our probation department, including juvenile probation.
Oh, that's
so
great.
We're glad that we have that relationship going.
Yes.
All right. He also asked what kinds of outreach law enforcement specifically can do to get to kids before they get into gangs or help them once they're already in.
Well, I think there's a number of programs and ways that they can reach out. I think participating in youth activities, maybe showing up to dances or participating in youth excursions, trips, being plainclothes and allowing them to see the subjectivities of the law enforcement officers and allowing the officers to see the subjectivities of the youth themselves. And what I mean by subjectivities are the aspects of their goals, their desires, who they care about.
Right, thank you. This question, I don't know who prepared this question for us, but it's a great question. What can an ordinary person do to prevent or relieve gang participation?
Well, you know, I think I hear this question quite often, and I think that every ordinary person has a stake in the community, and they have something to offer, and the kids respond to that. And I think the more people that offer of themselves to the youth, the more the kids feel a part of the community itself. It doesn't matter if it's collecting recyclables or learning anger management skills. It's all effective with our youth.
Great, thanks. All right, another question from a community member. I think they were quite taken with your presentation because they're wondering if you could come up and help set up a group to support breaking the negative group influence that is involved with gangs, and also if you'd be able to do workshops with youth here locally.
I'd be more than happy to, schedule allowing. I am very busy in the many counties that I work in, but you know, when I think about that question, I think about possibly coming up and doing workshops and training people. Because as I mentioned in the workshop, I know enough about gangs broadly, but the experts are here in the community. Mm-hmm. And it's the community people that are going to be the most effective. So whatever I have, I'm happy to offer, but I think, again, the community, people in the community are the experts.
Great. I would agree that, you know, people living here know best as to what's going on here. Mm-hmm. And certainly, we're very fortunate. We have a great number of resources available in our community, and mm-hmm. it's a question of sort of having them work in concert.
Right.
All right, here's an interesting question. Should the community cut down shoes on electric wires? You know the answer to that question, sir.
You know, I don't. I mean, those shoes end up there for many different reasons, and I don't think that that's going to really affect the gang issue. Maybe for aesthetics, and the city council might want, I don't know, not to have shoes up there. But
maybe not.
I just don't see how that would affect the gangs. You know, the tagging graffiti is the most important aspect of gangs, and that needs to be wiped out.
That does, and I don't know if everybody knows this or not, but our city actually provides vouchers to help people pay for the paint to remove graffiti from their houses.
Well, that's great.
So that's an excellent thing to have.
Yes, it's a great tool. So
my next question is sort of a big topic, mm-hmm. And that is, what can parents do if they're thinking their child might be involved with gangs, or they're just not even really sure about gangs at all? Mm-hmm. What can parents do?
Well, I think there's three big things. The first thing is paying attention to the youth, and actually that goes in concert with the second one of communication. I think a lot of parents have ideals as to how to pay attention to their children or how to communicate with their children, but is it in alignment with how the child receives attention and how the child receives communication? We really have to pay attention to how does our child receive what we're putting out there. And so those would be two huge ones. The third one would be to develop an awareness of gang activity, attend your meetings, find out what's going on in your community, and be an active participant in this movement.
Great, thank you. There's a lot of ways to get involved here locally. We do have a lot of great organizations and things like that. So,
I was very impressed today with the turnout, the breadth of people who turned out, and some of the great questions that came out in the forum.
Yeah.
You've got a very active community, and I think you guys are off to a great start.
Well, thank you. We appreciate the accolades. I have a question from my own perspective as someone who does prevention education in fifth grade classrooms. I've been a GRIP presenter for will be my fifth year.
Okay.
And so my question is, in terms of prevention, what are the programs that are going on in the area where you come from, down in Sonoma, where you have your most expertise in terms of prevention curricula and things like that?
Well, there's a number of things. There are boxing programs. There's martial arts programs. Of course, there's the soccer programs. Things that keep kids active and involved in something that they can carry through. I had read somewhere that if a youth is involved in some sort of activity in elementary school and they're able to maintain it in middle school, they're more than likely able to continue it in high school and stay out of trouble. Whereas if it's not available to them, their idle hands are left to find some other device.
Yes.
Some other things I would say are tutoring. Being aware of cultural differences and learning ways to work with cultural differences. And there are a lot of hardworking parents out there who work 2 jobs and have their children at home. Really finding ways that offer safe outlets for the youth to express themselves, to do things, art, activities, that sort of stuff. That's the most important thing, because that, number one, keeps them busy. Sorry for that term.
No, it's...
And number 2, helps them to connect to a broader part of the community. Because if they're encapsulated within school all day, and then they're encapsulated in the home, and those are their only 2 outlets, unless the family's able to go out to a fair or whatnot, there's not a lot of exposure.
Right. Yeah. I can relate to that, and I know I have children myself, and I keep them busy.
Yes.
But with lots of different things, and we're fortunate to have those available to us here.
Right. And one other thing I would say is that we have a tendency as adults to have our own ideals. I love football, so therefore my son will love football. And that doesn't always work out, and we get frustrated with, let's say I sign my son up for football, and he doesn't want to go to practice, he doesn't want to participate, but I put all this money forward, you're going to do it whether you like it or not. And it's important to find other avenues that they're drawn to.
Yeah. Great, thank you. I think that's all the questions that we have for you today. We really appreciate you coming and sharing with us. And we thank the community for being involved as well.
Great. Well,
Thanks,
thank you
Bob.
for your time.
All right.